chapter 37 today. Getting back into our study of dreams and visions. We're in the fifth series of this particular lesson. There's a lot of dreams in the book of Genesis. And I won't lie, I kind of struggled with this one a little bit this week. It's an easy story to understand. It's an easy story to get the message out of. But I really struggled with making the application from the dream to the vision. And Miss Judy's song there really jumped out at me, but God revealed that to me last night. God, there's nothing here. And we're going to be looking at the dream of Joseph, the Old Testament Joseph. The dream from the coat of many colors. The dream that got him sold into slavery. And let's just get to it. Genesis chapter 37. The Bible tells us, and Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger. In the land of Jacob, or land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah, and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and Joseph brought them to his father their evil report. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all of his children, because he was of the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him, and could not speak peaceably unto him. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheep arose, and also stood upright, and behold, your sheep stood around about, and made obeisance to my sheep. And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us? Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream, and he told it to his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren. His father rebuked him and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee in the earth? And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the same. And his brethren went to feed their father's flock in Shechem, and Israel said unto Joseph, Do not thy brethren feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee unto them. And he said to him, Here am I. And he said to him, Go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren, and well with the flocks, and bring me word again. So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron, and came to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field, and the man asked him, saying, What seekest thou? And he said, I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, They are departed hence, for I heard them say, Let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brethren, and found them in Dothan. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. And they said one to another, Behold, this dreamer cometh. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him. We will cast him into some pit, and we will say, Some evil beast have devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. And Reuben heard it, and delivered him out of their hands, and said, Let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto them, Shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver him to his father again. And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph of his coat of many colors that was on him. And they took him, and they cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty, there was no water in it. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you again for the day. Lord, I just pray that you'll be with this passage, this message. Lord, that you'll have your word go forth from my mouth, that you'll open our hearts and our minds, that you'll teach us what you would have us to hear, and allow us to apply those things to our life to better serve you. Lord, the gospel I know will be preached today, and I just pray if there be anyone in your house does not know you as their Savior, Lord, that you'll prick their heart, that you'll pull them unto you, that today could be the day of salvation. That they won't leave this place today without knowing for sure that they have received your saving grace. And Lord, I just pray that you be with us. May we do all things for your honor and for your glory. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Joseph's dream is a dream that's common among the knowledge in the Christian world. If you've been around church for a while, you've more than likely heard the story. At least I hope you've heard the story of Joseph and his many coats. And we know the first dream he had said that he would be in the field and his sheep would cause the other sheep, or his sheep would stand up and the other sheep would stand up around him and make obeisance to him. And we know that this really angered the brothers. They said, "What does this mean? Shall thou reign over us?" Remember, Joseph was the young brother. Joseph was the last one to come. What in the world are you talking about? You're going to reign over us? You're going to have dominion over us? And it made them angry. And they hated him for the dream. But yet he dreamed a dream again, and the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to him. And he shared that with them. And he shared it with his father, and his father rebuked him. And his father even said, "No, wait a minute. Whoa, whoa, whoa. My youngest son. You're telling me that me, your mother, your brothers are going to bow down to you?" It made the brothers even angrier. But a key note in this chapter is his father observed the same. His father listened. The brothers went out to feed the flock in Shechem. Joseph was then called by Israel, and if that confused anybody, remember Israel is the other name for Jacob, which is Joseph's father. So it's saying that Joseph was called by his father Israel, or his father Jacob, to go out into the field and check on his brothers. So Joseph took off on the journey faithfully as his father had asked him to do, and he went to the field in Shechem, and they weren't there. And he came across another farmer, sheepkeeper, another man, and he asked him about his brothers, and he said, "Well, I heard them say they were going on to Dothan." So Joseph went on, and he found them. And the Bible tells us again in verse 18, when he saw him coming afar off, they conspired to slay him. Out in the middle of the desert, in a strange land far from home, where nowhere was around, they saw Joseph coming. There was no mistaking his coat of many colors, maybe his appearance. They knew it was his brother, and they sought to slay him. And they mocked him. They laughed at him. They said, "Behold, the dreamer cometh." And when they did come in, and Joseph come into the group, they jumped him. They attacked him. They ripped him of his coat, and they threw him in a pit. This is where I quit reading. But this is not where the story quits. The story goes on for several chapters. If you've been following in our yearly reading with us, you followed along to this section. The story ends up that they sell him into slavery. They persecute him. And Joseph ends up in Egypt as a slave. And then Joseph ends up in Egypt as second in command, only answering to Pharaoh and everybody else answering to him. Joseph got placed over all of the food, to where all of the people during the years of famine that come upon Egypt had to come unto Joseph just to get food to eat. And we know the story ends up being that his brother, due to hunger, ended up at the feet of Joseph. And Joseph blessed his brother. We know that the story ended up with his brothers and even his father bowing down to him, just as the dream said he would do. I don't want to focus on the outcome for the rest of the service. There's a few more dreams that are going to come into play, and we'll get there a little bit later. But today I want to look at the circumstances that led up to this man being despised and rejected. I titled today's message, Despised and Rejected. And there's a picture of a giraffe up there. I want to give you an illustration as we get started from the story It's a Jungle Out There that was written by Gary Richmond. And Gary was an author that just happened to be in a zoo at the time a giraffe began to give birth. And he was standing there watching this beautiful occasion as God was giving life to another creature on the earth. And he was able to commune with the zookeeper. And he noticed this giraffe that was standing tall off of the ground, going through the birth process. The head, the feet, it was almost done. And Gary asked the zookeeper, he said, is she just going to let that fall? It's over 10 feet. And the zookeeper said she knows what she's doing. And when she gave birth, the baby giraffe fell, thump, landed on its back, still, didn't move. A few seconds later, Mama Giraffe reared back and just kicked the far out of the baby. Within seconds, he reported that the baby began to move around and try to get to his feet. And the baby just almost got up, but he fell back down. Mama reared back and kicked the baby again. The baby, with a little more meaning this time, was able to get to his feet, wobbling, standing up, finally made it. And Mama kicked him and knocked him plumb off of his feet. And Gary asked the zookeeper, he said, what in the world? Are you going to let this take place? He said, it always takes place. Because the mother giraffe knows that in the wild and in the wilderness in which they live, if that baby can't learn to get on its feet, stay on its feet, and move, it'll be killed by the predators immediately. So she kept knocking him down. Until finally, the little giraffe was up running circles around his mama within a few minutes. The application to this story is I've been kicked off my feet before. And I'm sure you have too. I've been kicked when I was down. And I'm sure you have too. And I've been kicked by the very ones that I would least expect it to be. My close friends, my family. I've been kicked by people in the church. And I'm sure you have been too. Right? You all can probably testify to that. There's moments when we're carrying on with our life. There's moments when this beauty is taking place within us. This little giraffe had the gleam of hope. It's a beautiful world. It's a great picture. The green grass and the blue skies. And I think he's even up there at a theme park, probably. I stole the picture off the internet. Don't worry, there's credits up there. But in this wonderful time of life, when everything was going right where it should have been, Joseph, 17 years old, when we were talking in this story, when we read this story, had everything going on. Life was unfolding before him. He was in a beautiful family, a large family, a family that had been blessed by God, a family that was wealthy, so to speak, had all the inheritance set before him. He had been blessed, as we'll see a little later on, with inheritance. What in the world could happen to him as he was going out to check on his brother? He got captured by his own family, thrown in the pit, sold into slavery, taken down to Egypt, and sold again. But God had it all in his hands. And God had it all taken care of. There's only 2 points in my message today. Scene 1 and scene 2. And in scene 1, I want us to look at the first sign of trouble that we see in the account of this dream. Jealousy. Jealousy. To covet. To resent something. Or to resent someone. Jealousy. A dangerous, dangerous word. Somebody told me this week, well, ain't your God a jealous God? He is. He's got the right to be, he deserves to be, and he can do it without sin, and the rest of us can't. That's just the way it is. There's no of. Have you ever considered that? What exactly was it that they were jealous of? If you only take this passage, you're not going to get it. And we know that we have to take multiple passages, and we can't just take one thing out of the Bible and focus on that. Yeah, you can get a little message, but you're not going to get the whole message. So you have to back up several chapters, and you have to look ahead several chapters. But we're going to see really three things that they were jealous of. First, his brothers were jealous of his relationship. They were jealous of his relationship with the father. Israel loved Joseph more than any of his sons. We know that he loved Joseph in his old age, he told us in this particular passage. We know that Israel and Jacob was blessed with a few wives, and Joseph was the last one to be born, but he was the only one born to Jacob by Rachel. Rachel had died. There was favor in Joseph's eyes, according to Jacob. They could not even speak peacefully to him. Joseph was their father's favorite. And there's several things that contributed to this. I've done talked about Joseph being born of Rachel. He died, and it was natural that Jacob would transfer that affection for his favorite wife. Jacob cherished Joseph in ways that he had not shown to his other sons. It's taking you down a road of destruction. Jealousy is no good. I'm not a father. I can't talk about loving one son more than another. I wish I could. Maybe God will give me that opportunity someday. I've heard parents say, you can't do that, you can't do that. But I know growing up as a child of 3, I felt that way sometimes. Don't be jealous. It's dangerous, dangerous ground. Joseph's brothers were jealous. They not only was jealous of his relationship, they were jealous of his position. And if you look back in 37 verse 3, in the last part, he made him a coat of many colors. And every child who's hung around church has probably heard of this. And if we're not teaching it, we need to. We need to get back to teaching the Bible stories, the basics of the Bible, and instilling it into our children's life, but also to us adults. If you look back in Genesis 35:22, you will see that Reuben was in line to receive the inheritance. But Reuben committed a sin against his father. Reuben had went in with his father's concubine Bilhah, and because of their gross immorality, he lost the father's favor. And Jacob had give that favor and give that to colors came out of that. He skipped his other 9 sons and give them this special tunic. Now, the importance of this tunic, the importance of this coat of many colors, the reason why it brought jealousy into the position that Joseph was in is that it was very elaborate. It was well decorated. It was long-sleeved. It covered from his wrist to his neck to his feet. And when the brothers looked off afar and Dothan in the field, and they saw their brother coming in this magnificent robe, it angered them. You see, back in the day, these tunics were only worn by managers. These tunics were only worn by people of great importance. The people that didn't have to work for a living wore these tunics. And it angered the brothers. He not only said, you're going to bow before me, your family's going to bow before me, of his position. So I challenge you this morning, is there somebody here that God has pointed out jealousy because of somebody else's position? Might have been a promotion at work. Might have been a promotion at home, kids. I know when I got promoted from dishwasher to yard mower, I was excited. And my brothers probably got jealous. We laugh about that, but what if it's a position in the church? What if somebody else got chosen to do something you wanted to do? Don't allow jealousy to come into play. It's dangerous. Seek God's will. Seek God's face and be content with what He's given us and where He is taking us. And obviously they were jealous of God's favor. Verse 5 summarizes this section. Joseph had a dream. And he told it to his brothers. They hated him even more. And Joseph told his brothers he dreamed again. And we don't have to be very smart or really very brilliant, or we don't have to apply any other passages to see exactly what these dreams were telling us. It was simple. Joseph had a dream that his family was going to bow to him and pay obeisance to him. Now here's the point, especially you children that have younger brothers. If your little brother tells you about a crazy dream that he has, poke fun at him, ignore him, but don't get jealous of him. Because he might have had a dream from God. And I know we smile and laugh about that. But the truth of the matter is these brothers got mad because they knew God was speaking to them. I think the reason Abraham observed the saying is because he knew God was speaking through his son. And they didn't want to hear it. I think they knew, and I base that on biblical principle. They knew that there was coming a day that they would have to bow to the younger brother. And it angered, and it made them mad. The application here is lives are going to be touched. Self-pity, jealousy, and anger are going to be presented before us here in the church. Don't let jealousy become a part of our lives. There's no place for it. It will not fill people up. It will not encourage each other. It will not admonish one another and exhort each other. It will tear people down. And it will tear the church down as a whole. There's no room for jealousy whatsoever. But just as sin goeth forth, bringeth death, jealousy going forth will bring in sin number 2, bitterness. And if there's one thing that can be worse than jealousy within God's house, God's church, it is bitterness. It spreads like wildfire. It's harder to treat, so to speak, from a medical standpoint. Verses 12 to 24 shows us how it came down. We've covered it twice. We won't go through it all again. But they were bitter. There's 5 things that bitterness will cause. First, bitterness is anger toward God. If we find ourselves being bitter today, we need to realize that God is ultimately in control of every situation that we're going to face. Anything God puts in front of us, He has already taken care of. There is nothing that our God cannot do. But if we allow ourselves to become bitter, we take our eyes off of that. And we don't realize it. And deep down we get mad at what God has placed in our path. We get mad at what God has done. Or we even get mad at what God has not done. And we hinder ourselves and others from growing in Him. His brother's done that. Bitterness will make you angry at God. Bitterness is us denying the goodness of our God. And we know Romans 8:28 says we know all things work together for good to those that love God and those that are called according to His purpose. We know that. We read it. We can probably, most of us, quote that. We think of that regularly, but we forget about it because we get bitter, don't we? And we forget that these things that are happening are truly for the good. We forget that God has got a greater plan in whatever we're going through. If we could just learn to look at Him and focus on Him and get closer to Him, we will see a blessing come out of it in the end. We know the blessing that Joseph received. We know the blessing that his family ended up receiving in the end. But it wasn't an easy path. But his brothers brought bitterness into the picture. Bitterness will not only make us angry at God, it will make us deny God's goodness. Bitterness will also leak out of us and poison the people around us. I can't help but wonder, and this is pure speculation, which brother wanted to kill him? I doubt it was all of them, until one of them started it. And then 2 was on board. Then maybe 3 was on board. Then 4 was on board. Then 5 was on board. It's just like when they set forward to slay him, it only took one brother to say, whoa, let's not shed his blood. Let's not kill him. Well, okay, I'll get on board too. I'll get on board too. I'm telling you today, there's no place for one person in God's church, anywhere on the face of this earth, to have bitterness in their life. Because it will soon be 2. And it'll be 3. And it'll be 4. And then there'll be churches closing their doors because bitterness is taking over. There's people dying today going to hell because they've not heard the gospel of Christ. Is it because of bitterness somewhere down the road? Joseph was sold into slavery. Now remember, we're going to make application in another service to how all this comes back to the good. So don't forget that part. We're just looking at the circumstances today. We can't be angry because if we have bitterness, it will affect all people. It will affect your church. It will affect everybody around us. Jealousy is dangerous, but bitterness is even more dangerous. Bitterness, number 5, is non-discriminating with its target. God. He communed with God. There was something about Joseph's future that was wonderful, but bitterness hit him as hard as it hit anybody else. The baptism of Joseph's fault? No. It wasn't. He couldn't help his father love him more. Was the dreams that Joseph had Joseph's fault? No. You don't control your dreams, do you? Why was Joseph the target of the hatred? Because it was all a part of God's plan. So we take this dream that we've looked at and we apply the principles from the dream that God's goodness extends to everyone. No matter what you're going through. God's goodness extends to you. It don't matter the trials that you're facing today. God's goodness will see you through it in His time. But may our vision be, as we really protect ourselves and remove any jealousy or bitterness that we might have. For the sake of ourselves. For the sake of your family. For the sake of your friends. For the sake of your community. For the sake of this church. Remove the bitterness and remove any jealousy that God has given you. And for the sake, first and foremost, of God and the Son, Jesus Christ, remove the bitterness. Joseph was despised and he was rejected. Ephesians 4:31 tells us, let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor, evil speakings be put away from you with all malice. And in verse 32, and be ye kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God, for Christ's sake, hath forgiven you. Joseph was despised and rejected. But he's not the only person who was despised and rejected. And as we close today, turn with me to the book of Isaiah, the 53rd chapter, verses 3 through 6. He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief, and we hid as it were our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet did we esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way. And the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. Joseph, innocent, despised and rejected, sold into slavery. But the end result was his brethren bowed before him and was fed. Jesus Christ, innocent, loved us enough. He came to this earth on his own accord, took on man's form, allowed sin, refused it, and he did not sin. And he laid his life down on the cross of Calvary and shed his blood. Why? For you and for me and for all of this world in the eyes of Jesus. Jesus had all the right in the world to be bitter, but he wasn't. I wasn't. I can only try to imagine. He was in torment. He was in pain. He suffered. But I can't help it there wasn't a part of a smile somewhere on his face. Because he knew why he was here. And he knew what he was going through was out of no other reason than pure love for us. Let's take the bitterness. Let's take the jealousy out of our life. If God's pointed anything out to us this morning, let's just give it to him. Let's just leave it on the altar. Deliver us and see us through. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you for the day. I thank you for this message. Lord, I thank you for the way you spoke to my heart. And I just pray that you'll take this message, Lord, that you'll hit us right where we need to be hit. That you'll show us how we can better serve you. How we can change our demeanors, Lord. How we can give ourselves a brighter future. Lord, if anybody is among us today that does not know you as their Savior, Lord, I just pray that you'll let them hear the words that you loved them. Because of their sin, they can never go to heaven. But because of you, you have paved the way. When you sent your Son to die on the cross and live a sinless life, he shed his blood. And all we have to do is pray and ask you, and believe in our heart that God hath raised him from the dead. And you have given us the promise in your very word that thou shalt be saved. For whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. And Lord, I thank you for this church. And I thank you for the mission that you have given us here in this community and here in this world that we live in. I thank you for the Bible study. And I thank you for showing us where we've been complacent. And Lord, I thank you for the growth that we've seen even this week in the sharing of your gospel. And Lord, I just thank you for what you're going to continue to do here in the life of this church, but in the way we worship you and honor you in a way like we have never done before. In a way that is more equal to what you deserve. Lord, if there be anything on our hearts this morning that you place, I just pray that you allow us to get right with you. Lord, that we'll make decisions for you today. Not that other people can know. That we can pray for each other. But Lord, that we can know when we walk out of your place today that we are right with you. And we have served you. And we are going to serve you in the way that you have called us to do it. Pray that you be with this invitation. Lead, guide, direct as you see fit. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. Brother Andy, if you'll come be with the song. The altar's open. The invitation's open. If there's any